right, everyone, good afternoon. Hello and welcome to Explain Like I'm 5. My name is Susan. You are on the channel Divine Disbelief. Explain Like I'm 5, the gist of it is, well, we get people to come in and talk about stuff they don't get to talk about too terribly often. And today with me, I have Heath Enwright. Heath, how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, of course. So, people probably know you from, the myriad of shows that Puzzle and a Thunderstorm and stuff has, but...
Did you know Donald Trump has COVID?
I did know that.
Yeah.
I did know that. And apparently he's further into it than people thought he was.
Yeah.
Which is like...
He's at the medical center. Thoughts and prayers.
Tots and pears. Yeah. So... I made sure, what I like to make sure is that people don't come on and talk about all of the shit that they usually talk about. So today...
Okay, but I just want to say one more time, he has COVID.
Yes,
I know we talk about that a lot, but like, it's just fun to say. He got sick because of the thing he made so much worse. That's fun.
I'm not actively hoping that he dies, but I'm not going to mourn him.
No, karma is contagious. Gotta watch out.
Just like COVID.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway. So what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about Zen Buddhism.
Ooh.
Like 5-year-olds, apparently. Which fits just right because it's like super simple and has basically one entire concept and that's it. Yeah.
Sweet. All right. So so let's start off basically with the TLDR of it. Well, not really a TLDR of it. I guess we'll do that at the very, very end. What is the basic concept?
I guess, yeah, again, just in the simplest form, it's about awareness. In my experience, I'm sure there's all different variations of Buddhism and Zen Buddhism, but particularly Zen Buddhism, it's not a religious angle at it. It's not the Eightfold Path and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. It's just about life on earth and being aware. That's the simplest explanation, is learning to be aware of your surroundings, the people around you, the environment around you, kind of living in harmony with that by being aware. And the practice is meditation, but also kind of the idea of being a meditative state in some sense, or an aware state at all times. So when you're walking, that can be a meditation, not just sitting or, everything you're doing, just kind of being locked in and focused and aware.
Yeah. Would you say it also sort of has to do with like your effect on your surroundings as well? Like the like consequences and like, I guess, pseudo butterfly effect of how one thing affects another sort of thing?
Yeah, for sure. The idea of being aware is going to allow you to have a more positive effect on your environment in that butterfly effect style scenario. Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Just kind of like noticing little cues about just in terms of our relations with people in society. I feel like for sure, if you're just aware of the person you're speaking with or the people you're speaking with, you're going to have a more positive effect on the greater society in some small way.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I think that's something that it's not, like you were saying, it's not necessarily having to do with the religious aspect of it. It's just about being aware is not the word I want to use because that's already been used, like
that's the word though. That's it.
Yeah.
It's that simple. 5-year-olds just want to focus in on a few words. That's the one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What I really loved in the tweet that you sent out was that you said, "My experience getting hit with sticks." Please tell us about this. Because I'm very excited to hear about this.
Okay. I'll give you the backstory of just, what I learned about this topic, this concept, and it'll eventually lead to me getting hit with some sticks, actually.
Okay. Perfect.
So, my freshman year of college, my best friend, one of my best friends in that first year, dropped out after a year and moved to Hawaii and became a Zen monk, essentially. And again, the word Buddhism is in this, but that's a religious word usually when you hear it. But he was going to study what's called Rinzai Zen, which is kind of this just, life on earth, be aware concept. And historically, it's based on being a samurai, which, sounds kind of cool, but there's a whole bunch of like wooey nonsense that you'll get into with my experience to some extent, and most people who have had experience with this, you'll get into some nonsense. But in general, the idea is, okay, a samurai needs to be aware at all times. And historically, this was like, if you train at all moments, you'll be just at peak awareness, and, so you don't die. But, now we can use it for better things than not dying in war. Yeah. So anyway, my friend left school and moved to Hawaii and started training at this dojo where his father was, the position is called a Roshi. I think it means something like Zen master, but he's somebody who had studied at this dojo and became an elder or a teacher at this dojo. And my friend is out there and he's kind of telling me about the experiences. And I go back to school for sophomore year, and the college I went to has a January term where you have a first semester and a second semester, and this middle term where you take one class for pass fail, and it's always a weird thing. And they offer a bunch of strange things on campus. Like one year when I was on campus for this, I did editorial cartooning, which was great. They do, car and motorcycle maintenance. They do complexity. There's just random stuff that you wouldn't necessarily take a class in. And the idea is to, get into some strange and enrichment type stuff, something you wouldn't normally take.
Right.
They do allow you to propose an off-campus project as your January term as well. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I have this really good friend out in Hawaii studying Zen Buddhism. I know nothing about this. I bet I could propose a thing. And since I'm on financial aid, the financial aid department will actually fly me out to Hawaii to do this thing if I propose it just right and set it all up. So I did that, and it worked. I had to go to a professor to get this approved. I had to have a sponsor, a faculty sponsor. So I go to a professor, my favorite professor of all time, Joe Cruz. He's a philosophy professor, fantastic guy. And I explain this plan. He's a little bit skeptical, but kept getting into it. And he finally says, okay, if you take it seriously and like there'll be a, some sort of like academic value to this at the end, I'll sponsor this. So he sponsors it. I take it to the proposal department for winter study, it was called. It's the January term. And they accepted it. So myself and a few other friends, I got a couple other friends who knew about this too. And we all went out there. Now I'm thinking to myself, all right, Zen Buddhism, this is gonna be so fun. I'm gonna go out to Hawaii. I'm gonna like walk along the beach and ponder the nonsense of the universe and whatever. It's gonna be all relaxing. Nope.
Not in the slightest.
Not even a little bit. We get there, immediately it's manual labor and sitting meditation very strictly at certain amounts of times, like way longer than, it's so hard to do. We'll get into the meditation part, I'm sure, in a second. So hard. And just chopping wood and carrying water. And we're living in this little hut on this volcanic hill in the back of this area in Hawaii. The four of us who were living in this hut could physically not fit on the floor to sleep in it without building a little bar shelf for the fourth person. So there's three of us on the ground and one person on a shelf in this just little screened in hut so we didn't get completely attacked by mosquitoes. And we're doing this thing for a month, and it was so hard. And so they taught us a little bit of like basic martial arts. That's part of the study usually, a little bit of Zen calligraphy. There's different Zen arts and different angles at studying this general concept. So one of them is calligraphy, one of them is archery, one of them is kendo, sword fighting, and one of them is actual like metal sword katas. Too advanced for me, but they gave us some basics on this stuff. But basically we wake up at way before dawn and meditate for a couple of sessions and then do a bunch of crazy difficult physical body work and crazy manual labor stuff, and then meditate again. And each meal was like very, very particular. There were all these rituals that you got into. That was a lot of it too, was kind of setting up really strict habits so that you can eventually set up just good habits in life. I think it's the general lesson. Thought that was positive. And we also got to study at this dojo in Hawaii, on Oahu. There's this dojo out in the middle of Kalihi Valley, which is like the all the way Hawaiian part of Oahu. And we go out there and study there too. and we'd have these meditations in this meditation room, and these old Zen master guys would be running the show, and they took it so seriously, not surprisingly.
Yeah.
So you go out there and you try to meditate, which means, in my experience anyway, you sit in the lotus position and you don't fucking move, and you don't drift off in your thoughts. You're supposed to, you keep your posture and your breathing. Those are basically the two things you should be focusing on, but really you're focusing on nothing but really posture and breathing. Keep your posture, keep your breathing really slow. Try to 30-second in breath, 30-second out breath if you can, and count your breaths up to 10 and then start over and try to get those 10s to add up to hundreds to thousands. And you meditate for maybe 45 minutes or an hour at a time once you get into it. And we do that, and everybody at some point is going to nod off a little bit because you've been waking up at 3 a.m. forever and you're doing all this labor. You're tired, or not, just in general. Sitting still silently for a long time is going to make people and sometimes sleepy. So anybody who would slightly start to nod off, there would be a guy sitting in your little square or circle or however you set it up, and he'd notice, and he'd walk around and be the enforcer, and he'd have a stick and he'd hit you with it. Not like hit you in the face to break your nose, hit you, but like slap, wake up, just jarring. All right, get you back into the thing. That helped me a lot. So that was how I ended up getting hit with sticks as a major memorable experience in my Hawaii Zen Buddhism training thing.
Nice. So you said you were there for about a month for that January thing. Did you sort of continue stuff and take stuff with you as you, like, any of the like strictly same stuff that you were doing? Were there habits that you formed, and any of the and the stuff that you did for a while? Yeah.
I'd say some of those habits stayed with me. I don't have the discipline to do it like we were doing it in Hawaii, which was every day at these certain times you would meditate. But sitting meditation is something that I do sometimes still to this day. Makes me feel good. I like it. I've heard scientifically there's magical ki energy that you can't. That's not exactly measurable, but it does give you the mental benefits of the refreshment of like taking a nap, but you don't actually go to sleep, which is good for me, because if I try to take a nap, that's like an 8-hour nap. And you focus on your breathing, so you learn to have this positive slow breath thing. You focus on your posture, which is good. You're doing stretch generally. It's going to stretch your knees out if you're sitting position, or just in general, yoga and stretching are often part of the process too. So I kept some of these things with me. I went back to school and tried to use this to focus up. The drugs ended up getting in the way and blurring the focus at certain times once you get back on campus, but took it kind of seriously. I ended up going out and doing a similar month-long program my senior year. This was my sophomore year that I did the first time. Did it again senior year with some people who hadn't done it. I was kind of the veteran, explaining to them, no, it's not. I thought it was to be walking on the beach. It's not. Just so you know, just get ready. It's hard.
It's like, just be
really
prepared.
Hard. Yeah, we're like taking down trees and chopping them, moving bricks up hills and doing all this stuff. So
did you find the experiences differed greatly, or was it just because you had already been through it? You already sort of knew what was going on?
That was the biggest difference, was I was a little bit more ready for it. It was a similar training experience both times. They were doing it with mostly new people the second time, so it was similar. The training experience, but I was a little bit ready for it, which made it better.
Like slightly, not entirely, but slightly.
No, you can't entirely get ready for this. But then I actually kept going with it after that too, and I eventually moved out to Hawaii and did some study in person there again with this dojo and the people I established a relationship with. Yeah,
that's rad. That's really, really rad. Yeah, I think I remember you saying something about that before, not just now, but way earlier in a thing. Sorry
to interrupt you. I'm just remembering how I got kind of talked into moving back out there to do this. I had this experience and it was great. And my friend Alex, who was the guy who was at college freshman year and dropped out and moved out there, he eventually, he went there and studied it seriously and eventually became a full-on monk. He moved into this dojo and lived there for 3 years and did the full dojo experience.
Right.
And that basically meant I wasn't in contact with him that whole time, but once in a while, they'd let him have like a 5-minute phone call to the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
And one of these times I got on the phone with him and he's just explaining the experience to me of actually living in the dojo and doing the whole thing. And talking for a little while, and he just cuts me off abruptly, and he's like, okay, well, it's 6:37 p.m., so now I go hit the hammer thing onto the wood thing and ring the bell. Bye. And I was like, what is happening? Okay, click, he's off, he's gone.
Uh-huh.
So it was just so funny to me. He's like, oh yeah, well, this is 6:37, so now I ring the bell. And I was like, all right, well, that's, I think I get what they're going for. Obviously, the bell itself probably doesn't do anything, but it's like almost a Pavlov situation, but you're just conditioning yourself to be lined up and disciplined in your timings,
right,
and your rituals. And I just thought that was so interesting, and I kind of rekindled my interest in it, and I ended up moving out there and living there for a while.
That's rad. That's really, really rad. There was something I was going to say, and I'm just like, I don't know why I blanked. My meds today are just not working for me. Don't know why.
I interrupted you, and I think you were asking a question about maybe that dojo living experience. That's what we were talking about.
I think, yeah. So what? You're saying that they did like some of the martial arts stuff. I like how I do like this for the martial arts.
No, that's right. That's correct.
I mean, it's exact. Yeah, it's exactly what they teach you. What sort of stuff did they do in terms of the martial arts?
Just mostly really basic stuff, because none of us were experts. The idea was just to get a 101 on it, and basically at the very beginnings of using it to just teach your body to be in good posture at all times and be aware at all times. And that was one of the angles they would take at it. So we did a little bit of Aikido, which is nonsense in terms of being an actual like winning a fight type thing. But, you're learning some balance and how to, if you're thrown onto the ground, how to make your body kind of like roll more like a ball than a stupid blob shape that you are and get hurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Did they get a little more advanced with any of the martial arts the second time that you went?
Not particularly, but we got to see some of the experts do a little bit of the advanced stuff themselves. We got to watch a couple of times some expert kendo sword fighters doing like the bamboo sword, sport sword fighting, kind of like fencing, but not exactly.
Yeah, and you mentioned the defensing bit. The sword fighting sort of stuff, fencing-ish. What does that entail?
You got a bamboo sword and you're wearing some pads and you're just hitting each other in particular areas. I think when they do the point scoring, you're hitting in the chest or on the helmet or maybe on the wrists, or maybe that doesn't count. I forget the exact scoring, but you've got some pads on. It's actually really heavy. They did get us into the pads a couple times to kind of test this out, and it was so hard. I remember playing hockey when I grew up, and you wear so many pounds and pounds and pounds of armor, and it was very similar to that, but you're in like a beekeeper suit and you can't see and you're pouring sweat. It was very, very difficult. And we were just doing the very basic stuff, like, learn the motions of the swing and learn the motions of some basic defense, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They did also, more than anything else, they focused on the really hard labor angle of it, which was, okay, you learned a really little lesson about kendo sport fighting, but really what we want you to do is take this giant, heavy, like, remember the wiffle ball bat, the like Flintstone wiffle ball bat, the like oversized plastic thing that you would use when you were a kid before you could hit it with like a regular wiffle ball bat?
Right.
It was like an even longer one of those made of solid wood, very dense solid wood. And they'd have you swing this 1,000 times in a certain way just to like get your hara, they called it, which is like your lower abdomen, is where you're supposed to set your balance from at all times. The center, your center of gravity is the idea. And so they'd say, okay, go out there and swing that thing 1,000 times and see how your arms feel after that. So during these things, you just spend the entire time completely exhausted. But it was great. It was that good tired you get. You know, you spend a day chopping wood. I don't know if you have my father, but if you do, you spend days chopping wood and you have a similar arm feel at the end of it. Yeah.
Can't say that I ever did that. But it's one of those, like, it's you get that sense of like accomplishment. It's sort of like doing yard work. Like you feel good about it because you can see, like, you can feel the effects of it, and you can feel, like, I mean, in more than one way you can feel the effects of it, but you also feel this like sense of accomplishment too.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's very visceral and important. Good for mental health.
It really is. Yeah.
I feel like that's just a very simple, positive way to get whatever happens in the brain chemistry. I don't know, but you know, manual labor, I think, is a healthy thing. Yeah.
What's funny is we were, so we live in the Southeast Portland metro, and we live in a house that's got a tiny little ass backyard, and we were like mowing the lawn with this push mower, and we were like weeding and you know, trimming shit and stuff, and I'm just sitting there like, I love this so much. I don't know why. Like, it seems so silly, but it's sort of, to me, it's sort of similar to that, because you can see, you know, the fruits of your labor, basically. And you can see, like, you can sort of focus on that rather than feeling like you have to focus on everything else in the world.
Yeah, you get in the zone.
Yeah, it sort of seems like that. So,
I love mowing lawns too. You get to actually see it happening too. You get to see if it's like a little bit thick, and you get to watch your progress. I don't know. I'm strange.
No, I get it.
It's my weird dad stuff. Yeah.
Totally. I always do this with just a total like, wee. So I'm assuming that you learned how to mow lawns whenever you were like growing up and stuff, like when you were a kid. Would you be all like, I totally want to do this? Or was it I mean, I guess I'll do it because you asked me to thing?
Yeah, well, it definitely wasn't like, yay, I would like to mow lawns. This is the best. But with my dad, it was like, you're going to mow lawns, and you do that then. You do whatever just got said. And so I was excited. I was a little bit excited. There was one part of it. You know, we had enough of a backyard with enough grass out there that a drive mower was necessary. So my dad had one of those drive mowers that you could ride around on. And that seemed exciting to me. So I'm too young to drive, obviously, by a lot, but I could drive this thing in the backyard. Kind of want to do that. And Dad was like, well, no, relax. No. You don't get to drive. You don't touch the drive mower. And he's very excited about it. So he's tuning it up. You get to do the push mower on the stupid little side parts that are annoying for me to do with the drive mower. And that's what you get for a long time. Eventually, I was allowed to use the drive mower, which is very exciting.
You worked your way up to it.
It took a long time. Yeah.
You earned the privilege of using the drive mower.
Aggressively protective of the drive mower. Even when I was doing it and clearly had learned it, I'd catch him like spying on me, being like, are you over rotating on that? Because that's going to make the wheel going to wear down. Yeah, he was always checking.
You don't have the blade set too low or anything? Like, you're not going to like
a disaster in that.
Skin the lawn or anything?
Yeah, big deal.
Yeah, the lawn that we have is sort of a little bit lumpy. So when you're doing, and it's what they have, because we live with a couple of roommates, what they have is a manual push mower. Like, it's not like gas driven or anything like that, because we had just like a gas driven one when I was growing up. And this one you sort of have to like just over and over and over. But yeah, like, I don't know why, for some reason when I was a kid, and I guess it's the idea of, you know, it sort of makes you feel a little bit grown up. A little bit. I don't know why, but anyway.
Adulting stuff. It's very exciting. I do very few things where I don't feel like a child, and the occasional manual labor. It's like, I did my taxes last year, and I did this. I'm real. I'm a real adult.
I'm good for the year. That's the extent of what I'm going to do. I'm good for the time being. So as always, if anybody has any questions or anything for Heath, if you're in the chat and you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask them in the chat. We do have one from Tapioca Weasel, who's a friend of the channel. So does practicing Zen automatically confer detailed knowledge on the art of motorcycle maintenance?
It does. I can fix any motorcycle, and I don't even have to touch it. I can do this thing, and it's impressive. No, it does not. But it would confer the ethic to get into every little detail of something like that, diving all the way into every little detail of, for example, motorcycle maintenance. And as I understand it, that's kind of the angle that book takes, is you learn the tiny little minutia of something by really diving into it. And it actually can seem a little bit like magic. It's not, but it kind of seems like it is if you really get into it. The way that an amazing musician hears a symphony and they notice this whole thing they can think of it as a gestalt, but I hear it, even though I learned some music, I hear, okay, maybe the melody and maybe the bass line and maybe the rhythm, but you can kind of just really get into it, and you get this mastery of something.
Yeah. Pick up on like themes and you can sort of tell when there's a coda and stuff goes back and repeats and shit. I was in band.
Me too.
So, I played percussion. I was
nice.
I was one of those kids. And that was actually going to be my next question was about Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Was going to be, have you read that?
Sweet segue question person.
Yeah.
I've not read that book though, no.
Yeah. So Jonathan Jerry asks, why do you think many atheists are drawn to Buddhism?
Great question. What's up, Double J? How's it going? I would say it draws you in some sense as what seems to be the least damaging religion, or one of the least damaging religions in some sense. But again, my experience with Zen wasn't combined with Buddhism, the religion, but I can see, looking at Buddhism, the religion, what I do know of it, and saying to yourself, okay, well, that feels less exploitable for all the same evils that other major religions might get. But as we've seen, that doesn't guarantee anything. There's certainly bigotry coming out of Buddhist belief and human suffering coming out of Buddhist belief. So
yeah, there's some bullshit related to it.
Yeah, faith is just, it's seen as a positive word, but it's obviously not. It's consciously suspending critical thought, which is dumb, always dumb.
Yeah, but there's a quote by a guy who I don't quite like to mention, so I'm not gonna actually properly attribute this. But it's basically, you use the word faith because you're assigning a certain confidence value in what you're believing. That's why you're not saying that you know it. It's that you're not quite as confident in what you're saying about it. Mm-hmm. So
yeah. But I would say, Buddhism is kind of seen as the marijuana of religions.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. And living in Oregon, I think
marijuana and Buddhism are great for living in Oregon, I would imagine. Exactly. Those both fit right in.
Let's see. Tapioca Weasel has this question. What do you think is the most common misconception about Zen Buddhism?
Okay. I think we've hit on it a little bit already. Mm-hmm. It's the word Buddhism as a religious term being associated with it. Mm-hmm. There's no book of Revelation or book of God's word or anything like that in Zen Buddhism. There are religious texts in Buddhism, the religion. So I think that's an important difference, though. I would say just saying Zen instead of Zen Buddhism is a better title of it, even though, yes, those things are historically related, and those two words are almost always put together.
Right.
I think there's a way to study. I think there's a way to have secular Zen, reasonable, skeptical Zen. I think there's a way to study that, removing all the magical nonsense and just focusing on some demonstrable positive aspects of learning to train your breathing in a good way and learning to train your posture in a good way and doing manual labor for positive results, and meditating can have positive results. Yeah.
Yeah, what I found, I tried meditating, and well, I enjoyed meditating, I should say, because I did some guided meditations on YouTube and stuff, and it was, I found it really helped, and I had this aim of being like, okay, I'm going to do this every day, and that has not happened because I can't form habits. I should just start doing some manual labor to form the meditation habit.
Exactly. That's how it works.
Yeah. But what I found was sort of similar to what you were saying, in that, you are able to sort of clear your mind, and it is very refreshing.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm like you, I can't take naps. I can't do it.
Yeah, it doesn't work for me. I definitely do. It's not easily measurable, of course, but when I do have the discipline to wake up and meditate for a little bit at the beginning of the day, I seem to feel better. Again, I don't have a spreadsheet where I'm keeping track of happiness units, but it seems that way.
Yeah, and how would one measure a happiness unit anyway?
Yeah, it's tricky.
That's
just the
really
angle
hard.
of your smile. Like, you'd have to really get into measuring stuff.
Yeah, it's very, very technical, very technical. So Nathaniel is, of course, in the chat. So Thana's asking,
Nathaniel,
what's it like to work with the personalities we see in Noah and Eli, and why can't Elizabeth Warren be our president?
Oh, come on. Okay. Well, I'll skip quickly over how amazing it is to work with Noah and Eli. If you listen to any of the shows, you know how amazing these people are. They're fantastic. Lucinda, Anna. I'm blessed to work with an amazing crew.
I do love Lucinda and Anna the most, personally.
They're fantastic people as well, of course. My job with these people is so great and easy, especially when I step back and I think about it, big picture. I have these incredibly intelligent, talented people, super funny, and a lot of my job is to just find them funny, and I do, and it's great. And I laugh, genuine laugh, all the time. Every week we record a bunch of different stuff, and I get to talk to these people. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
There is a risk at any moment of an extremely aggressive, took it way too far, ongoing prank war, because I know Eli. So and like if he dropped in through the ceiling right now, that wouldn't be out of the question. But
that's true. Even being, totally different state and everything, it's just
small
like,
downsides.
Oh, okay. Like, that's fine. It's like,
He'll find a way. He
Yeah.
commits to the bit. He's trying to figure out how to teleport right now if he's listening.
Wouldn't doubt that.
But moving on to the other question, why can't Liz Warren be president? Well, it's because the voters of the Democratic Party voted for Joe Biden kind of overwhelmingly. That's the simple answer. So we are where we are. But man, I would be so much happier if we had chosen a super intelligent, much more progressive, highly, highly qualified, way less problematic background, all these positives. But most importantly, the agenda, the very progressive agenda. I would love to see Bernie Sanders instead of Joe Biden too. And especially after watching that debate, I was furious about it. I was absolutely furious about it. I know from looking at polls afterwards of how people found the debate, more people said Joe Biden won. I didn't feel that way. I felt like obviously on, the real things on content, Joe Biden has better content. He has a better platform. It's just obvious he's not a Nazi. But like the way this came off to an undecided voter is very problematic. I think they saw an aggressive win for Donald Trump. I think a lot of these people saw, oh, look at this guy who's dancing around and interrupting all the time, and he's being on the attack, and he's sharp. And I don't know. I don't think Joe Biden did very well with it. I'm not surprised. I don't think that debating is his strong suit. I think we all knew that going in, and that's not that important. Like ultimately, the president doesn't need to be an amazing debater, but Liz Warren or Bernie Sanders would have done so much better in that combative situation, in my opinion. Bernie Sanders would have been barking right back, but barking good things instead of evil things. And Liz Warren, being a teacher and a professor, she would have had very intelligent, aggressive comebacks at different moments and would have had stuff on topic. I think she would have been a lot sharper in those moments too.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. Admittedly, I voted for Bernie in the primary. Nathaniel voted for Elizabeth Warren. So he's
two great picks.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how well they'd be doing against Trump in the polls right now. We don't.
Yeah.
Hard to say. If I could know for sure that Bernie or Liz Warren would have been doing way worse in the polls compared to Trump right now, that would obviously be something to think about. But just in terms of who do I want there, yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So much better if we had that. But we're all stupid, even on our side. Even the good team isn't particularly good at making decisions on this particular issue, and we can't have nice things.
Yeah. Agreed. Oh yeah. And Nathaniel was definitely saying, like, months ago, he was just all like, I mean, it's going to be Joe Biden. When people were starting to sort of drop out and stuff, he's like, well, shit, it's going to be Joe Biden, and we might as well just fucking accept it at this point. Well, I forgot to tell you, whatever cursing you want to do is totally fine, by the way. I forgot to tell you that beforehand.
Okay. Fuck! Here we are in 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here we are is an important thing, though.
Yeah.
Like he was saying, and kind of like you were saying, yeah, we're stuck with Joe Biden now. I don't think he was the favorite of a whole lot of us maybe listening right now, and a whole lot of us that listen to the shows we do as well. We have a pretty progressive audience. Joe Biden was nobody's first choice. He was almost my last choice personally.
Yeah.
But here we are, and we're skeptics. You have to just realize here we are and operate from there. So
yeah, just work with what you got at that point.
You have to fucking vote.com.
Yes, that is a thing. And I love that so much. I love that. We have another one from Nathaniel, which, of course, he's a little biased. How easy is it to be a beard balded man who, like me, is also just so good looking?
Stupid. It is very difficult being a white man in this society, I will tell you. No, it's not at all difficult, but I do get a lot of roasting for the baldness, especially from Eli, who is actually balding. This is shaving. You could see where the hair would be.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like this not exact look, but this look is made a little bit of a comeback. When I was first doing beard, I did it all stupid. I was doing the goatee and like the goatee. I looked like an asshole.
Oh dear.
It was not a great time in my life, but this is a lot of people were doing it at the time, and it wasn't a great time for any of them. But what I've noticed is there's a new look with that like big beard, short haircut thing that guys are doing. It's obviously not what I got going here. It's kind of a shortish beard, but I like that big but well sculpted beard look. Like Odell Beckham Jr. does a sweet version of that.
Yeah. James Harden,
great beard, amazing beard. Yep,
it really does.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's the beards subreddit that I'm just all like, yes, I love this so much. I love this. It's great. Nathaniel had a pandemic beard for a little while, which was pretty great. It got really, really humongous.
You got to think of it as like a playoff beard. We're not through the pandemic. You got to keep growing it. This is your fault.
It's all Nathaniel's fault. No. Okay. So Pine Snake, who is also a buddy, as we are now talking about presidents, can he give us a couple of sound bites? You should have voted for Hillary and his.
You should have fucking voted for Hillary Clinton. Is that a good one? Do I need to explain it any further than that? You should vote for Joe Biden too. You don't have to be excited by him. He's not great. He's so much better than. There's literally one other alternative. This isn't complicated. God damn it.
I'm gonna make that my ringtone.
Good ringtone.
It's gonna be my ringtone now. And your opinion about the current president predicament?
We did
go over.
It's so sad. Because he's sick and he might die. I feel bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds really rough.
I'm not actively wishing for it.
Oh, I am.
But
Am I allowed to actively whisper? I can't tweet about it, apparently. I saw a tweet yesterday. This bothered me. So, like the Twitter.com account that kind of puts out tweets on behalf of Twitter, said something kind of warning everybody, obviously in reaction to Trump having COVID. Hey, we're not going to let you put up a tweet that says you actively wish harm or death on a person in particular.
I saw that.
And Ilhan Omar responded to this with a GIF, and I think it was just, oh, really? Or something like that. Are you fucking kidding me? Or something like that. That couldn't possibly be their actual policy that they're enforcing. Look at all these horrible threats that and not just her, but a whole bunch of people with similar politics to her, or just being Muslim. Unbelievable.
Or just being a woman on the internet, basically.
No.
Because that's
why you shouldn't be allowed to hope Donald Trump, whatever. Of course I hope he dies.
Nah.
I'm supposed to be a good person about this? Fuck off. No, absolutely not. I'm not taking the high road about Donald Trump at this point. No, there's no high roads on that route.
I'm trying very hard, and it's a struggle. It's a struggle. Yeah. So Jonathan's got another question. Are there lessons you've learned from Zen that can be applied to atheism and to humanist activism?
Okay. I think that's a great question. I think we started to touch on this too. The idea of being hyper aware at all times kind of gets you into the idea of harmony. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the ultimate humanist thing is let's live in harmony as best we can. Let's improve happiness and reduce suffering. Let's improve freedom and reduce suffering. That's the ultimate humanist thing to me. And let's think of it in mostly a utilitarian way. Mm-hmm. How do we maximize happiness and minimize suffering across all of society? The idea of being aware and having that harmony, I think, can plug you into more empathy too. You don't think of, when you hear a Zen Buddhist monk, you don't think of empathy. You think of this like blankness and just, stoic stone face. But doing that process, I think if you use it in the right way and apply it to humanist activism, like Jonathan's asking about, I think that is a useful lesson. And we definitely need more empathy. I think a big problem is that the opposite is valued by half of our American political spectrum. Mm-hmm. The idea of, well, fuck that, virtue selfishness, Ayn Rand, that's just awful for society. It would be awful if it wasn't prized just because it pops up naturally, but now it's like a virtue on one side. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's almost like wishing for, basic human rights and for people not to go hungry is all of a sudden like a controversial thing. It's like, holy shit. Like, oh my God.
I also think when people have a disagreement politically, in the moment, almost everybody gets kind of fiery about it and they want to be right. It's very important for me. For sure, I have this problem. But almost anybody wants to be right in the moment when they're especially arguing about politics, because everybody thinks they're a genius about politics, even if they're perfectly willing to admit I'm not a math person, I'm bad at math. Everybody's a genius of politics. And they don't want to ever say in the moment, oh, you just made a good point. I'm going to adjust my opinion based on that. But if you were to say, take 10 minutes and sit in silence and relax and just do your best to appreciate the other side of whatever argument it is. This doesn't work for every argument. There's obvious right and wrong answers sometimes. But a lot of the time, even that 10 minutes of just taking a break and emptying your thoughts for a second as best you can, just relaxing, and then thinking about it, maybe, I think that'd be a positive. I think if people reapproached arguments that way, they'd be able to find common ground way more often than they realize.
Yeah, and that touches a lot.
The polarization we have. Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that touches on some of the mindfulness stuff too, and I think like it sort of seems like, like acknowledging your feelings and being able to feel them in the moment, but then being able to process them in the healthy way, or at least that's the way that I understand it anyway.
I don't know about feelings, emotions. These things you describe are a lot of the time foreign to me.
What are these things? I have no idea what these things are.
But I try to have them like a person as best I can.
Yeah, you realistically, you are just like 3 penguins in a trench coat, and I think people need to realize that. Like, that's how it is. That's just
the best.
I know, they're really cute. We're playing this game called Ark again. We're playing this game called Ark, which is amazing, and we found penguins up on one of the mountains recently, and they're super adorable. They're just
nice.
These little video game penguins, and there's some babies there too, and it's like, yay! It's like dinosaurs and stuff like that. You can tame dinosaurs and all that stuff.
It's like how you can tame dinosaurs. Oh, in the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can. Yeah. So I've got
you mean like in front of the Ark Park with the Jesus and the?
Thankfully, no. Thankfully,
is that in front of the Ark Park? It's in front of one of those stupid fucking things.
I think. Oh gosh.
I've actually never been to the Ark. I live like 45 minutes away.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're close.
I really don't want to go. I think we might go at some point as an intentional trip. Just kind of live roast it, but haven't been there yet.
Well, there was. Didn't people make the trip after the American Atheist Convention last year?
Yeah, a year and a half ago, it was in Cincinnati, and the How to Heretic guys went down there.
They did. I remember. Yeah. I remember.
They had a pretty good time
hearing about that.
Doing a live roast. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were on with me talking about cats and their cat rescue stuff. It was Mark and Doug. They were on my second or third episode.
Nice.
I think. Yeah. They're
it's fine. You invited them first. That's great. They're awesome guests.
Well, I just want to make it perfectly and well known that you were the first one of the Puzzle and a Thunderstorm guys that I asked. So I'm just saying.
Okay.
And I'm booked until November.
I'm actually pretty excited.
I'm just saying. Let's see what else we got. A lot of good comments about Nathaniel fucking loves Ilhan Omar, which I get because I do too.
Go Squad.
Yeah. Let's see. So much political talk because we are talking political stuff. I do enjoy it though. And see, I'm one of the people who will admit that while I am very passionate about a lot of issues, like I sort of have my little niche things. Like I do like the reproductive justice stuff and I do the atheism stuff. That's the stuff that I'm really passionate about. So when it comes to a lot of other things, I'm just like, I admit I don't know. So I just don't spout off bullshit about it. Like, I feel like if more people sort of took that position and just didn't spout off bullshit about stuff that they didn't know, the world would just be a better place.
The internet would have so much more space. It'd be a lot less cluttered.
Yeah.
Almost wouldn't even exist.
So many fewer characters just out there in the ether. Yeah, so if anybody else has any other questions, we do have another one from Vine Snake.
We do. Excellent.
If Marsh wasn't causing world health pandemics, etc., who would Heath nominate for Skeptic of the Year?
Marsh. I would nominate Marsh again. I see it in the question can't be Marsh, but I'm just, for spite, nominating Marsh one more time. Skeptic of the Year other than Marsh.
I would like to actually hear a genuine answer to this question.
Okay.
Like, who do you think has? And then again, I realize this has totally gotten into like all of the stuff that you always talk about and shit.
That's okay. I like to do that. That's the whole point.
That's true. Who do you think has like made really significant like contributions and stuff recently?
I'm a huge fan of Jennifer Gunter.
Oh, I love her.
She does amazing just debunking of horrible science. For example, Gwyneth Paltrow's nonsense, or anybody fighting against reproductive freedom nonsense, just general horrible ignorance about the existence of women sometimes, or science in general. I follow her on Twitter, and
Same.
Fantastic job. Fantastic job. Writes for a variety of different publications as well.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Gunter would be high on my list for Skeptic of the Year.
Yeah, she's really great. And if you like her, for a general note, if anybody in the audience already knows and likes Dr. Gunter, you will also like Imani Gandhi and Jessica Piccolo, who they have a podcast called Boom Lawyered, and they talk a lot about they're a couple of lawyers, and they talk about reproductive justice issues. So they're fantastic, they're amazing, and they're wonderful, and I love them.
Yeah, I'm going to put Cara Santa Maria on the list too. Yes. Fantastic science communicator, skeptic. Very good work.
Yeah, she's really great. I reaching for the stars on trying to get her on here. Not gonna happen.
We got so lucky to have her on God Awful Movies a few times. It's been fantastic. We're hoping to keep doing that every so often.
Yeah, she's definitely one of my favorites. I really dig her. So Pine Snake would say Hema Mehta, who was on 2 weeks ago.
Another fantastic answer.
Yeah.
Jeopardy winner, Hema Mehta. Yeah.
That's so cool. Like, how cool is that? And
Jeopardy winner and author of a New York Times Saturday crossword this year.
Nice.
So jealous about both of those things.
That's rad. I actually just got his I sold my soul on eBay. Nice. I got the audiobook version of that. I had a bunch of Audible credits. So I got that, and I'm very excited to listen to that one. That one I've heard it's really, really great. So I'm very excited for that. Mm-hmm. If anybody else has any questions, just at this point, it's just sort of a whatever the hell people want to ask about at that point, which is always good.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep bringing the questions. If we don't have one popping up right now, I just have one other thought on I mentioned, you meditate, maybe you step away from an argument, you meditate, you clear your mind for a second. And that's often a phrase you'll hear in Zen is clear your mind when you're meditating, which is actually impossible in some sense, or almost impossible, really hard. Just sitting still is like the hardest thing. I found it so difficult. If you're listening right now, just try to sit still silently for a minute and count your breaths for a minute. It's so difficult to not move and to not lose your focus on that one thing of just counting your breath, keeping your posture. It's so hard. But they say clear your mind. And one of the other things that leads to is the idea of a Zen koan, the term for a nonsense question, essentially, like an impossible to answer question that you might ponder on once you learn to really clear your mind in your meditations. Some of those traditional old school trainings, they're going to have the samurai think about what is the sound of one hand clapping, or some unanswerable, riddly thing like that. The idea is supposed to be, this is where it gets into some of the magic stuff, where when I was experiencing this, I was like, I think you guys took it past the real part now. But you're supposed to get so good at it and so disengaged but engaged at the same time that you can somehow have an answer to a nonsense question like that, and you get a glimpse into the real fabric, the invisible fabric of the universe. Good dog. Who's that? Who is that? Put him on the screen.
Somebody ring the doorbell.
But anyway, I don't think that's real. I think if you study Zen Buddhism for a long time and you meditate for years and you do the living in the dojo and the whole thing, and then you're supposed to solve this koan because your Zen master is hitting you in the face, not quite in the face, but hitting you with sticks, and you've done it, you've invested all this. I think they're all liars. I think they're all lying when they say, oh, well, I've found enlightenment now because I figured out what one hand clapping is. I don't think you did. I think that's nonsense. But I do think doing an exercise every day where you try to just clear your mind of your normal chatter and worries and focus on your breathing and posture, that's a positive thing.
Why are you still doing this to me, Stanley? He's still gonna bark just a little bit. After the doorbell rings, he's gonna be all like, I'm protecting you. No, you're a corgi. You're not ferocious. Peitzing also brings up for the Skeptic of the Year stuff, Neil the 604 Atheist, who I was bragging to him about you coming on our channel, and he really wants to talk to you. So I need to get you in touch with Neil the 604 Atheist,
Okay.
Neil Bernstein. So he really wants to talk to you about it. He does like deconversion stories and stuff like that. So
Got it.
or,
I
like,
actually
journey through stuff.
happy to talk about that topic, but I don't have a deconversion story myself. I kind of, well, we're all born atheists, and I kind of stayed that way the whole time. The town I grew up in was extremely devout, mostly Irish Catholic, Roman Catholic. My best friends since I was 5, Dan and myself, were like the 2 heretic atheists. As young as like 6, 7 years old, we were having arguments on the playground of like, okay, well, that's stupid. That doesn't even make sense. And I'm sure not advanced versions of the atheist argument, but more just like, that's dumb. You're just making things up, that you're guessing. But yeah, I don't have a particular deconversion story myself, but I tried to do some deconverting as young as 6 and 7 years old.
Nice. Yeah, I think he would really love to talk to you about that.
I tried to write a paper about Jesus Christ once in high school, and they wouldn't let me do it because they knew it was going to be really bad for business. They said, pick any historical figure that's the assignment. And I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm doing Jesus Christ. My teacher was like, no, you're not. Absolutely not.
That's
No,
not happening.
veto.
Not happening.
You're getting fired.
Double J wants to know when you're getting a puppy.
Soon as possible. I've got a connection 1 state over with a veterinarian. So somebody listens to the shows, actually. We've hung out before. Hi, Deb. Deb is a very talented veterinarian, sometimes of exotic animals, and assures me that if I do want to adopt a puppy or a dog, she'll be my point person. And as soon as I feel like that's doable, I want to do it. Absolutely.
Yeah. You gotta sort of be ready for it.
Yeah. I live next to a dog park, so I'm constantly like stalking people at it. And I have a few people in the building now that have dogs, and I've become the like resident. I get to be the dog sitter anytime, volunteer. So I get some good dog time. Nice.
So were you ever caught by the bigot bullshit that stems from living in a religious society? Do you get a lot of that like in your everyday life?
No. I guess there's plenty of religious people in Ohio, and there's plenty of religious people where I grew up in the Irish suburbs of New York, a whole bunch. But it was never a particular, no. I've never felt worried about it, just worried for society in general about the stupidity, but never for like my own safety or I was never, being, actually, it just didn't bother me, I guess. People were yelling, anti-atheist slurs, whatever that would mean occasionally, but when you're a kid and you're me and my buddy Dan's next to me, we're like, wow, keep yelling stupid things. That's great.
Yeah. It's like, that makes you look really great there. Yeah. Makes you look good. See, Marshall Gale wants to know thoughts on the possible Passion of the Christ sequel.
Oh, please, Mel Gibson, make that movie. Gotta
Passion
happen.
of the Christ, the Passioning or something like that. I
don't know what it would be. They'd have to do like the Sword Mouth and the Revelation and the comeback, right? They'd have to do a prequel to the reality of Revelation that's about to happen.
Oh yeah.
Sequel to now, prequel to that. Sure.
There's stuff about Paul setting up the church and shit. So.
Yeah, I hear David A.R. White might have lost approximately half his money recently, or he's about to. So he's looking for new projects.
That's true. And Cinema Snob Brad Jones actually did an interview with him that just got posted on the Stoned Gremlin channel like yesterday, I think, something like that. So
an interview with David A.R. White?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So his stuff is a lot of fun to watch because it was fun watching his version of War Room and then y'all's version of War Room. Because so many of the same things are being said, and it's pretty.
I think David A.R. White might be a liar. Like, he seemed pretty excited about his devout message in all those movies. I think he's a liar, though. I think he's just. I think if you really got him to be honest about it, he's got a sense of humor about how stupid those movies were. That he made and made a bunch of money on, I'm guessing if you really could see into his heart, that's what would be there.
That he just doesn't believe any of it, or he's just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
He's apathetic.
It's paycheck.
At best.
Yeah.
Yeah, at best. Have you seen the Borat 2 movie ads? Trolling
No.
Pence? I think I've seen like one of them, so I'm not entirely sure of the Pence trolling, but it does.
They're trolling Pence with it?
Apparently so. I know Sacha Baron Cohen did a lot of stuff with like infiltrating some Republican events, and he
Interviewing Roy Moore was amazing. Roy Moore's so stupid. He had no idea what was happening.
It's like, oh my god, how? What, Roy Moore, why do you think people genuinely want to talk to you at this point? Like, everybody knows. Everybody realizes. Come on, man. All right. Well, looks like we're at actually just over an hour now. So that's going to do it for us. We're going to go ahead and get it wrapped up since we are at an hour. And if people don't already know, where can they find you?
Check out The Scathing Atheist and The Skeptocrat and God Awful Movies and Citation Needed and D&D Minus. And let's see.
Support them on Patreon too.
Sure, please do if you can. And vote for the only person who could beat Donald Trump in the election.
That's true. That's true.
Even if you're not excited. I'm not that excited myself. I'm pretty excited to beat Donald Trump, though. That's exciting. That's fucking exciting. I don't understand how that's not exciting.
Yeah. Don Ford says he loves you.
Hi, Don. I love
Yeah.
you too, Don.
Don's on next week.
Hello.
Very excited.
Excellent.
Very excited for that. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for us. We're gonna wrap it up. Many thanks to Heath Enwright for coming on and hanging out with all of us. Thank y'all in the chat for hanging out with us as well. You can find all of the links in the description below if you'd like to support us. You could do Patreon. We've got Podfan, Buy Me a Coffee, all of that random shit that you can, support us on. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, all of that wonderful stuff. And y'all have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.